We on? Yeah, I think we're on. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined, as always, by my friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Are you okay? I know.
Tough one last night.
Knicks
didn't
come through for you.
It's good to be back in the playoffs, but having your two best players kind of suck throughout the whole thing kind of stings a little bit, and it shows that they have a lot of work to do going forward.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Knicks because I definitely want to break down some NBA playoffs because I've said this to you. I'm not a big NBA guy. What I'm finding out is I'm not a big regular season NBA guy because regular season NBA play is boring. The drama, the day-to-day drama of like individuals is more interesting than the games itself. We're gonna talk a little. I have a little football story for you later, and again to the ratings, and you're gonna be like, dude, the NBA is just
crap.
It's crap. So, but as a product, NBA playoffs has actually been decent, certainly better than a regular season. But yeah, so we'll talk some Knicks because there's no doubt you must have been at least surprised by this season and happily surprised. Obviously, I don't think you saw this coming. There's some disappointment. Obviously, if your season doesn't end with a championship, there's naturally some disappointment. But we'll talk about what the Knicks have going forward. Some interesting stories in the NBA also, or in basketball in general, coaching changes. Danny Ainge stepping down with the Celtics and Brad Stevens sticking around, which kind of surprised me a little bit. Got news with Duke basketball, surprising, and I'm a little surprised by their hire. We could talk about that. We're going to do NFC North preview, what we think. And interestingly, while looking into that, I came to a different decision than I thought I would have, like a different conclusion than I thought I would have before I really looked into things. Okay. And then this is episode 19, so we have some special 19s that we're going to talk about a little bit. But we'll start off with, my weekly Little League update, GTAA, Galloway Township Athletic Association update. And I kind of told you last week that I was pretty sure, but now it's official. We were the first place team. So we got a first round bye.
Awesome.
And I will tell you, like in the NFL, not that I'm comparing the 10-year-old minor Phillies to an elite first round bye NFL team, we got a bye, which means our last game was last Thursday. The first round of the playoffs were this week, yesterday and today. I don't know if they're going to play today because the weather is just so incredibly bad. So we'll have the whole week off this week. Our next game won't be till next Wednesday or Thursday.
You got a practice in or not?
We're going to finally get a practice in. We were supposed to have a practice tomorrow, but because of the weather today, I'm assuming today's games will go to tomorrow, which will take up my practice spot.
Yeah.
So we're going to practice on Monday for a game Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. They haven't decided yet. So I'm a little nervous about that. I got my son out, taking swings and hitting, but I can't guarantee that everybody on the team is doing it. I know we have like 2 or 3 or 4 travel ball players, so I'm sure they're getting swings in and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really the swings that I'm most concerned about. If you don't swing a bat and hit a moving pitch, for 2 weeks, it could cause a problem.
Sure.
So,
especially at that age.
But I'm excited. Now the danger is, and I told the boys, listen, this is nice. First place is nice. We won our last game with 8 guys, pretty impressive. 12-2 win with only 2 outfielders, which was very nice. But if is this what you wanted this year, or do you want to go all the way and win that championship? And what's interesting about our playoffs is that it's one and done. It's kind of like March Madness style. So you play one bad game and you can be out. So you're going to have to be on the top of your game all the way. And so I'm excited about that moving forward. So that's where we're at. So now I wanted to tell you that I got some feedback from last week's show because we had a big guest. We had Josh Hennig from ESPN Radio. He came on, and so we got some extra viewers. And I had some people that were a little concerned. I had more than one regular viewers a little concerned. And they stated that they would like to see some kind of different background for Scott. Like the eggplant / brown, I can't really tell, drapes. Could we come up with something come up with something a little more sporty spice for your background. Is there anything in the works for that?
Yeah, we could figure it out, I think.
What kind of background do you think you'd want to put up there? What could we do?
Well, I could throw like a Michigan blanket back there, or like some jerseys hanging off the top. Who knows? We could figure something out. Well, we could also tell tell listeners to mind their own business too, and don't worry about my little curtains.
We definitely don't want them to mind their own business. Then they might not be listening or watching.
I'm just kidding.
But somebody had mentioned maybe a big Denver, like what do you call it? Like a banner poster. You know, those cloth. What the hell? It's like almost like a flag. Is it a flag? I don't know if that's a flag. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a banner, but I think of like paper when I think of banner.
No, I know what you're talking about.
So I don't know if it's a banner or not, but.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Might need something to just lift.
What? Because your dartboard and TV is that much better than my background?
Well, yeah.
All right.
It ain't great. Yeah, it's not, on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm a 3 or a 2, so it's not like we're both killing it here. You had to bring something to my attention twice because I'm a dummy. In the golf world, that happened this past. It's a subtle thing. It's been brewing for a little while. You had to catch it. If you didn't catch it, you kind of missed it. But then there were a couple memes made of it.
Oh man, it lasted.
What's going on between two of the bigger dudes in the sport? And when I mean bigger, I mean like two of the more muscular dudes in the sport. 2
weight room guys and 2 pretty good popular players now that they're starting to become. Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. So there was an interview during the PGA Championship 2 weeks ago. I guess it's 2 weeks ago now, right? Yeah.
A week and a half.
Where Brooks is getting interviewed, and Bryson walks by with metal cleats, or not metal cleats, but stomping golf cleats during the interview.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then he whispers something too, I think, and then Brooks rolls his eyes, and then whispers or says, "I hate that fuking guy," or something like that.
Oh, so I didn't even hear that part of it. I only saw the eye roll.
And then the guy that's interviewing him starts cracking up and goes, "You know, we're gonna have some fun with this." He goes, "Go ahead. I don't even care." Like Brooks doesn't care. He hates him. Bryson does it on purpose. Like, let me ask you, like, do you think this is good for golf? Because I love it. I think this is outstanding.
Oh my God, I think it's fantastic for golf. Like, I think it's fantastic for golf. So we talked about this last week when Phil won. It's great for the sport, right? Because we talked about the ratings, how they had 13 million people watching, and the highest rated NBA game in the last 2 years had 6. So it's great, when a guy like Phil or when Tiger is doing something historic, special, whatever. You don't want to have to. Yeah, hold on a second. What's the time here? Okay, 1 second. You got that close? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that for our live viewers. We're taking the dog has to go for a bike ride. It's important. It's a husky, high energy dog. The dog needs to get that
energy out,
or she just tears that. Yeah, or else she just tears the house apart. So while those things are great when a Phil or Tiger does it, as a sport, you don't want to have to rely on that. Okay, so obviously when this past weekend it's Coke Rack, they're not getting nearly the same ratings. It's not a major tournament, but it's
even though Spieth was there, it still kind of takes a little thunder away from it. I agree.
It does. Plus he wasn't playing particularly well, so that hurts.
Just new on a Sunday.
But if you have like a very, to me, what seems like a natural rivalry, like they genuine, or I don't know if DeChambeau doesn't like Koepka, but Koepka clearly does not like DeChambeau. Well, I actually think that's fantastic. On top of the fact that they're both, 2 of the top 5 players in the game right now?
5 might be strong, but definitely 10, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay,
Just because Brooks has been out and DeChambeau hasn't won anything in a while, but
come on,
personality-wise, I know, I hear you, but clearly DeChambeau knows he's in his head because he tweeted something in your head, bro, or living rent-free in your head or something like that.
Right.
So it's pretty good. Like,
yeah. So I do think it's fantastic for the sport. Now, what would really help would be for them to, obviously, perfect scenario would be for them to be paired
on
Sunday. It doesn't even
Open.
have to be the final pairing. If it could be a pairing on the leaderboard on Sunday,
or just Thursday, Friday, start off with them 2 rounds.
That'd be glorious. But especially on a weekend, like especially on a Sunday, have them just like battling each other, almost like pro wrestling style. You would think with these two big dudes that hit the ball country mile and like don't like each other. Oh my God, it would be. It would be priceless. So I do think it's good for the sport. Plus, I think it's genuine. I don't think it's contrived. Like I don't think they're faking it. So
now, Tiger and Phil had a little rivalry, but it never got like that. And I think now they're probably pretty good friends now at this point. Yeah, and Phil never got close to Tiger either back then. So that was another that hurts a rivalry too,
Yeah. So this was the whole problem. First of all, it was never this personal. Even if it was, I think all rivalries in general have a little personal twinge to it. Bird, Magic, when they were younger, didn't love each other. Didn't like each other because you're trying to kill each other. So that's natural, but it wasn't like this. This is athletic and personal. Like he genuinely just doesn't like them. And like I said, it's great because they're both elite players. They're both top names. If you look back at like the last 10 major winners, these guys are both. Yeah, Koepka has a number of them. DeChambeau has one.
So excellent segue. Because I was just going to say they both tried to change the game in different ways. Because Brooks is phenomenal in majors, but you don't really hear him a lot on the regular tournaments.
Not a lot.
And a lot of them, not only you don't hear him, he skips a lot of them too.
Skips them, or he uses them more as like almost practice rounds. Like
and I know he's been injured. I know he's been injured the last year and a half or 2 years too. But
he's had the knee injury.
And then Bryson tried to change the game during the pandemic. Totally changed his body.
Yeah.
Trying to hit everything 350 yards off the tee, so everything's a wedge in from that point on. So they both got different angles to the game, which I really enjoy. And now you throw this into it, it makes golf on the weekends pretty fun.
Yeah, no, the reality is this isn't new necessarily. It's more like renewed. Like they already had like not like this situation, but they had like it's known that they don't like each other, but this is extra spicy.
This kind of got reintroduced to the world in a way.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. It's fun, and because I think when it was going on previously, they weren't quite the big names that they are now. Yeah, I really would argue that they're probably both top 5 right now. I mean, I guess you got Dustin Johnson, you got Thomas.
Justin Thomas, yeah. Who else is on there?
I mean, Rory's big, but is he really as high on the list right now as they are?
I don't think so. I think Murakami's up there. I think one of those guys is up there.
But I mean, again, he's got one major.
But he's in top 5, top 10 in every tournament. So that's how they go by the ranking.
He does find a way. For a guy that can't putt, he does find a way to be in the top 10. It's amazing. He's always on the leaderboard. So anyway, I think it's awesome. I love it. By the nature of the sport, golf, you call penalties on yourself. It's kind of like a self-governed sport. It's a gentleman's sport. It doesn't really lend itself to this type of rivalry. Like when you think back to Jack and Arnold, I don't think Arnold liked Jack so much because Jack was taking away what Arnold had, that number one kind of guy, number one player. But I don't think it was ever like this personal. And even then they were two of the best players in the world. So like, that's what makes it so cool. I don't know. It's just so cool. Now you have to get what Jack and Arnold gave you, which was excellent play against each other many times. You know how many times those guys went head to head? Like a number of times.
Yeah.
A number of times. So
that's what
you
makes
need
it
now.
so different. Yeah.
That's what you need now. You need at least a handful of times for them to go head to head. So which makes me think, we got the match coming up, which I guess is Phil and Tom Brady versus
Bryson and Aaron Rodgers. So what would be a great match would be DeChambeau and who cares and Brooks Koepka and who cares. Although I don't see Koepka doing it because he's not into like the media flash. Like he just wants majors. He doesn't do this kind of thing, but I just think it would be great. Like that would be a great way to force them to face each other, And did you see what Phil said? I feel like I should take a step back here. For some reason, like he's like underlying, like, but then he took a shot at Brooks too. He goes, "Well, they want the current winner of the tournament. Like, Brady's taking a shot at Rodgers. He's taking shots. It's fun. Like, it's just cool. Yeah.
So I love it, man. I absolutely love it. And it's genuine. I think it's genuine, which
Yeah.
is important. If it was fake, like I think this is what happens to LeBron too many times. You know, not to get into the LeBron bashing, which I'll do soon enough. But he comes across as contrived too often. You know, like when he got poked in the eye a week or two ago. Oh, I saw 3. I hit the one in the middle, like stealing a line from Rocky or whatever. Like he just says things that always it just comes across contrived. And then with the flipping and the flopping all over the place. Oh, I hurt my shoulder. Dude, nobody even touched your shoulder. What are you talking about? Like
he's brutal.
You know that, and people see it. Now, whether it's real or not doesn't matter. It looks it. So now if this were to look contrived, it would be horrible for the sport. I think it would be horrible because then it just looks staged and, you know, you don't want that. But this looks real. I mean, this looks real. It looks genuine. And
yeah, and if the Brooks even say, yeah, run with it, I don't give a shit. Like, just like
yeah. And we talked about this last week with him. He really doesn't give a shit. Like he does not care. Like just go ahead. You know, do your thing. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care what you think.
He wants the golf, and
I'm there to win.
It.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm looking. I really do think he's looking at it historically. He's taking a historical viewpoint and say, you may not like me now, but if I win 8 majors, history will look upon me, and they won't give a damn.
What's he got now? What's he got now? 5? 4, maybe 4.
I think he's got 4, right? He's got 2 US Opens and 2 PGAs. Am I correct?
Yes, I think you're right on that. And then, he's been hurting. 2 Masters hurt him, and then last year's craziness in November, I think he was down and out for. And
dude, think of this guy. This guy played this past tournament basically on one leg.
I know,
and came in second by 1 stroke. Like he's a baller, man. He is an absolute gamer. He is all about the majors, and man, he just relentless is the word that comes to mind. Like he like you mentioned, like he was spraying the ball all over the place off the tee a number of times, but he just never gives in. Like because even after that, he'd come back and make some birdies, and I don't know, he's just
because if Phil blew one more shot, man. I think Brooks would have been right there. Like
he's got a lot of Kobe Jordan in him, whereas DeChambeau has a little more Phil in him, where it's like if shit gets wild, he's just like. Whatever, and he just keeps spraying it, and he'll just keep, where Koepka will grind. It's a little more Jordan, Tiger, kind of just like never, ever, ever giving in. It's not as sexy and fun, but it's maybe it's more impressive. I don't know. I don't know, but that's the way. Plus, he's got a weird name. I don't know. I don't think his name helps him, but that's a whole nother story. NBA playoffs are in full effect, and I just have to say, once again, now, we shouldn't have to toot our own horn, but I'm going to toot our own horn here. We were ahead of the curve here. If you remember, right before the playoff games, whatever you want, the play-in tournament started, I mentioned to you, I said, keep an eye on who? Do you remember who I said? Keep an eye on this guy, younger player, second year. Ja Morant. Right? I said, keep an eye on Ja Morant. And what did he go and do? He goes and beats the San Antonio Spurs, him and the Memphis Grizzlies. They beat the San Antonio Spurs. And then in the next game, everyone's, special superstar player who's great. Don't get me wrong. He goes and he beats Steph Curry and the Warriors. Now you can say, well, they're a weakened Steph Curry. He outplayed Steph Curry in that game. And please don't anybody try to tell me that the Warriors are not a better team than Memphis right now. It's Ja Morant and a bunch of practice players. So he ends up, I feel like he single-handedly brought the Grizzlies into the playoffs. They're the only lower seed that actually made it into the playoffs. The only team that had to win twice.
Right.
That made it in through the play-in, which is impressive. And then in the first game against Utah, granted with no Mitchell.
That's a big thing.
But he's averaging 25, 30 points a game. He's carrying this team. He's a second-year player. I'm thoroughly impressed. They're out now. Utah beat them, last night or the night before?
But that's what you want. You want improvement like that in a second-year guy. That's the new NBA.
Well, I said to you, everybody's jacking off about Zion, and I get it. I like Zion. He's a fun player to watch. He's got the big smile. He's got a little Shaq-ness to him, like fun.
Yeah.
But I actually see a combo of Jordan and Allen Iverson and Ja Morant. He's not quite as big as Jordan with the big hands and all that kind of stuff. he's a little more but he has that drive. He has a drive. I don't mean a drive to the basket. Like, I mean a personal drive, a desire to win. This is why I pointed it out. Like, we talk about Zion, but they've had 2 losing seasons and no playoffs. Ja Morant had him on the brink of making the playoffs last year. I think they just missed out by like 1 game. And this year gets them into the playoffs.
I don't remember that. I knew they were at the bubble, right?
They were right there. I'm pretty sure they came up short. I think you're watching a superstar being born here. I really do.
I agree with you.
If you think back to Jordan, his second year, I don't know if they either didn't make the playoffs or they got busted out in the first round. Like, they were just early exits. You know, he didn't have the team around him yet, so he was carrying the team.
Well, same thing. You're in early exit. That's what you.
Yeah, and I just see a lot of that. I see a lot of that with Ja Morant and Memphis right now. Now the difference being that over time, you get Phil Jackson that comes in. Chicago surrounded Michael with more talent. Memphis has got a responsibility. They have to see that they have a very special player here. Yeah. He's only going to become a better shooter. He's already like unguardable. He can go by anybody he wants at any time he wants. If he develops a shot, it doesn't even have to be a consistent 3. It's just got to be something, some kind of jumper to force defenders to come closer to him. Dude, to me, he's a superstar in the waiting, and they have to start really working towards surrounding him with a couple more talented players.
Yeah, the problem with that is, Memphis isn't exactly a desired spot to go play basketball, and the money, they're gonna have to overpay some people, and then that hurts the rest of your bench and depth and stuff like that. That's the. I
think you're right to a degree, but if you think back, I think you're right to a degree. But if you look at like Kevin Durant when he was in Oklahoma City, I think it's a different time. I think it's a smaller world.
But they drafted all 3 of those guys. Remember?
I understand that. I understand that. No, I understand that. What I mean is, I think there was a time when location mattered. I don't know that it matters so much. Even if you use something like Chicago, before Jordan got there, that was the worst organization in the whole league. And then when Jordan's there, everybody wants to go play. So you might Memphis is not Chicago.
I was going to say, I figured that goes without saying, but yeah.
But Oklahoma City isn't exactly the hub of the nation either. But they left. So
they all left, and Harden asked for a trade before and it worked out for him. But,
well, no, they had to trade him. They couldn't afford him.
That's true too. But then Oklahoma City too. They were fun because that was like, beside the Sooners and the Oklahoma State Cowboys, that's all they had. So that stadium was like a college atmosphere. They're all in white. They're going fucking bananas.
The timing on that was perfect too, because Westbrook and Durant had kind of cut their teeth in Seattle, and then they moved, and now they're actually like pros and all-stars.
Yes.
So it wasn't like they didn't show up at Oklahoma City as rookies. They were already, I don't want to say seasoned veterans, but they had 2-3 years under their belt at that point. Yeah. So you're getting a legitimate team at that point, which was fun for them. But yeah, I just, So my point of that was just to say, you know what, Memphis isn't a destination until you got a guy like Ja Morant there, and people say, it ain't Memphis that I want to go play for. I want to go play with Ja Morant.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it depends. It depends on who it is and what they're looking for. You might not get a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant to go there, but could you get like a Paul George to go there? That type of player, like an A- player, maybe not another superstar, but I don't know that you need other superstars around him. I don't know that at the time, I don't know that Scottie Pippen was a superstar. Like it just has to be Robin. I think he just needs a couple Robins, like, I don't know. Would a Giannis want to go play with him if his contract were up? I don't even mean him specifically, but like that type of player, although I guess he is a number one. He's not a typical one.
Like a Julius Randle?
It'd actually be a great fit for him.
Yeah,
I know. You see what happens when he has to be.
Yeah, he's not a one.
A number one.
He's not a one.
Clearly, it's actually like that's a great suggestion actually, because that might actually be like a perfect fit.
Yeah, I don't want to
get a post player, can't shoot the 3.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm going to give ourselves a little pat on the back and say, good job, Pete and Scott, bringing up Ja Morant before. Well, because I think so. The playoffs is what introduces superstars to the people who really don't watch during a regular season, and I think a lot of people after this first round and a half whatever with the play-in crap, can look and say, whoa, who's this guy? And if you were watching last year, you saw him already. Or if you watched in college, you saw like this guy's a special player. Zion eats up a lot of the space, but now you got him in the playoffs, and it's like, whoa, who's this dude? And it's always better when it's a ball handler, and he's a ball handler, especially in the league as it is right now. So
you brought up a good point too. Like the playoffs get you the recognition.
For sure.
Well, March Madness tournament, same exact thing.
Well, you could say that March Madness is what got him to be the number 2 pick, right? Did he get them to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8?
I think the Sweet 16 was the farthest they went, Murray State, but again,
but it's Murray State that you got to the Sweet 16. So and basically single-handedly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So so that kind of exposure is what does it. And
he's not afraid of the moment either. He's a baller. He's a good player.
I mean, it's not just not afraid of it. He's demanding the ball. Like, get out of my way. Like, this is what I mean about the Michael Jordan part. Like, his game is not so much Michael Jordan, although he is very explosive. It's that, I don't know. There's a killer instinct. There's a Kobe. There's a Michael Jordan instinct about him. He's not only not shying away from the moment. He's demanding the ball. Give me the goddamn ball. He's not just saying like, okay, I'll take it. He's like, give me the ball and get the hell out of the way. You know what I mean? And if I pass it to you, just be ready to shoot. Like,
especially
demanding the moment.
Especially against Steph a couple weeks back. That was for like.
Yeah, and in big spots against the best players, which I don't know. It's impressive to me, and I'm throwing it out there again. Next year, keep your eye on this dude. I'm telling you, we'll talk about the Sixers, and we can talk about the Sixers now if you want. You got who the hell's their point guard there? Ben Simmons, who seemingly refuses to work on a shot, which would make him, if he developed even a mediocre shot, it would make him probably the most devastating player in the whole goddamn league.
But doesn't that annoy the shit out of you? Why the hell is he doing this?
Of course it does.
But it's like, dude, what's he in the league like 5 years now? Let's go.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
gotta be.
It's almost embarrassing because what's embarrassing is that the rest of his game is so good. Like, he's so talented. How to be 6'10" and handle the ball like that? The vision, the quickness, the athleticism, smooth
steals, rebounds.
The best defensive player maybe in the whole damn league.
It's annoying as hell.
And you can't just get a mediocre jump shot. It's embarrassing. So my point of bringing him up is just that John Morant's the opposite. He's relentless. Like, he'll work on that forever. Yeah. Like, I would guarantee that he's going to come back and be a better shooter next year. Again, maybe not an elite shooter, but better than he was this year. And the year after that, he's going to be better again.
And I don't want to make this a Knicks show or Julius Randle's show, but Randle's improvement from last year to this year, night and day.
Yeah.
Free throws, the 3-point. Now you make yourself so much more valuable like that. Simmons just improved that much. Like, I don't know. It's very – my buddy at work's a big Sixer fan, and he can't figure it out either. He doesn't understand why – it's almost like a game to him. Like, fuck you. I'll play the way I want to play. And
well, the reality is he's a real special player. He does it different than anybody else does it. We're talking about Simmons here now, right?
Yeah, but he can improve his game so much more.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to go too much to hammer town on him because, a couple games back, 15 rebounds, 15 assists. He participated in like 48 points out of the 100 points that they scored, which is that's saying something.
Yeah,
being that he only scored 6, it was really impressive. On top of the fact that he's an elite, if not the best defender, on-ball defender in a whole league.
Yeah.
So you're 6'10" and arm span of like 19 feet, quick feet, like you said, smooth, strong. He's not like a weak body. He doesn't do it the way we would like him to do it, but let's also accept the fact that they're a number 1 seed in the East. They just smoked the Washington Wizards, who stink on defense. But where I'll give him some credit, and this is where I say, look, well, he could if he wants to. Embiid goes out in this last game, and Simmons scores 30. And he's the main cog in that win. Like, he controlled everything. And it just goes to show you, if he wants to, he can dominate anytime he wants.
So the
question, let me ask you this. The question is it not his game? Or does he just not play that way? Or is he more of a facilitator?
No, it's not his game because Remember they made a big deal out of it? Like last year when he finally shot a three, never mind made a three. Like he wouldn't even attempt the fucking three. Like, dude, to me, that's like leaving something on the table. When you could do something and improve your game and you have all the facilities and all the training staff in the world to do that and you refuse to do it a little bit, I think you're kind of going after you to the Sixer fans. I don't know, and the NBA fans. Listen, all that other stuff you mentioned is great. And for sure,
and they're winning. But they are winning.
They are winning. But we mentioned this a couple weeks ago on the show. I think last week to Josh. How many times is Philly going to do? They messed up on all those the tank for the process, trust the process bullshit. They either traded the wrong guy or drafted the wrong guy or whatever. And they only have Embiid and Simmons left. And Embiid can't stay healthy. That guy's jinxed and cursed up a storm. So I don't know, man. They're not running out of time. But if Embiid's always hurt, and they don't get any help around Simmons to shoot the ball like they did last year. They had no shooters.
Well, they do have shooters this year.
Well, they have Curry's brother and Green. Yes. So I don't know. It just frustrates me the fact that
it's just weird. He's a very odd player. He's an odd player in today's NBA, which is fascinating because if you went back like 20 years, maybe 25 years, I don't know that he'd be so odd because your point guard 25 years ago was expected to distribute and not worry so much about scoring.
Yeah, it's true.
I think part of the problem is, too, he was a number one pick. So you don't just want 15 rebounds, 15 assists out of a number one pick in the draft. The process is also part of it. It's one of the few he's one of the few pieces that they've kept from their quote unquote process. But the other side of it is, dude, they're winning. He does whatever the team needs to win games, he does it. They needed him to score last time. He scored. Put a 30 spot on the board. So it's weird. It's just weird. And it's just not what we've come to expect from superstars. And it's hard to call him a superstar when some games he scores 6. 6 points, 15 rebounds, 15 assists from a point guard. It's like, okay, Dennis Rodman, sure. But it's just weird. It's just a weird.
It's weird. That's the
he's
best
a
way
very
to play
unique, different, hard to put a finger on kind of player. So he's hard to evaluate. But in the end, the point is to win. And if they go to the conference finals or go to NBA finals this year, it's just hard to argue with it. It's hard to argue with it when it wins.
I'm rooting for him now because I want fucking Trae Young to get pushed into the stands and stepped on. And
you have to admit, after hitting the shot, the bow, it was kind of cool. If it wasn't against your team, you'd be like, all right.
Well, I said this to somebody the other day. If it was cool against the Raptors, it'd be great.
It was cool because it was smart.
Watching it for a week and a half, I had enough.
Yeah. If I were you, I'd had enough too because he put on a show. You know what? Let's do the Knicks. I was gonna wait on this. Let's do the Knicks. I'm gonna give you some bad news, dude. I don't think it gets any better. Here's why.
In what way?
I don't know. I don't see the building blocks. I don't think Julius Randle is a star. I think he got it. Here's what the playoffs do. They create stars or they expose
second-tier players
who played like stars most of the season. And I think Julius Randle is a B who played his ass off all year. Thibodeau is a very good coach. They played great defense. They played great defense all year when nobody plays defense, but then the playoffs come and everyone plays defense, and now you're exposed offensively. And he was terrible offensively. I just think he got exposed for who he is, which is a 2 or maybe probably a really good 3. So, and because of that, RJ Barrett wasn't necessarily fantastic. I just look at it and say, who are you building off of on this team?
And then your best player in the playoffs was Derrick Rose, who's 33 years old and has been through the ringer himself. So, yeah. I think he's got a nice tub on his apartment right now. But, a lot of different ways I can go with that statement. I do think they need something other than Randle to be your star player. Tibbs scares me to death, too, because Tibbs is known for, getting a team back, but he can't get him over the top. He's been bad in the playoffs. He also runs these guys into the ground.
Yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth. He drives them so hard. Eventually, it's just too much, I think for Randle, this NBA. Yeah.
I think Randle and Barrett led the league in minutes. I think they were 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. Damn. Their bench too. Their bench was pretty good all year, but just if Randle was so in his own head, he was kicking balls out all year to Burks and Bullock. The playoffs he didn't do it, and then they couldn't hit shots on their own, and then you're down by 15 in the fourth quarter in a game 5. Like I mentioned to start the show, I'm happy for him. Happy to bring him back. You could see the Garden when it's electric.
Oh
and
my God.
the city, that is the Mecca, and the Knicks fans are great. But and I feel bad for Randall because he had such a great regular season. But in New York, you don't perform in the playoffs, you're gonna get pounded, and that's what it looked like going on today.
I don't think he deserves to get pounded, and I'm not a Knick hater. I don't like the Knicks. I just think he was exposed for what he is, not for being bad, just for being decent.
But he's
not a star.
And I don't think there's any, and it's not any fault of his. Like I said, he improved his game so much. Free throw, that's a lot of hard work. He lost some weight. He put the work in.
Dude, he deserves. That's what I said. I don't want to take too much away from.
I know.
Him. It's not fair because to say like the whole season didn't matter, that's bullshit too. Like it does matter.
No, it does matter. You got
a 4 seed. I mean, that does matter. That's work. That you put in the work. Here's I'll give you an example of what I mean by like exposed. If you watch the Brooklyn Nets play, their 3 guys score so easily.
I know.
Like they could get their shot anytime they want. Harden almost looks like he's just messing with you. Kyrie, who I hate with an absolute passion, he can get his shot anytime he wants. Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall, can shoot over anybody anytime he wants. It comes so easily. And then you see Julius Randle struggle just to get a shot off, never mind to make it. And you just say, that's a B player. That's a guy who needs someone to help him get a shot. He can't get it himself. That's what I mean.
Doesn't Harden play like he's dribbling the ball down a hallway in a school, and he's just dribbling it and like spinning around and doing like.
Hey, what's up, Tom? Hey, I just wanted to let you know we got someone on Facebook that's checking in. Tom Valentino.
Oh, nice.
What's going on, Tom? How you doing, man? Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking in.
Nice.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got excited. We got someone.
No, that's very cool. I don't know where Tom is. What's he in Beijing? Good evening, but it's a little good afternoon.
Should be in Clifton, I think. Actually.
No, but Harden's great, man. He just like, and I just to shut everybody up. Like, I don't need to score 40 points a game. What's he doing? 16 assists and 4.
Well,
it's pissing me off that they're doing this together.
It's interesting you bring him up because I look at him and I say, I feel like he got a bad rap with Houston as purely a scorer. You come to see like I think he gets just as much enjoyment out of getting assists as he does out of scoring. And he's really a special player. I tell you what, he's really a special player. And
in Houston, he had to score like that in Houston.
Yeah, but I think it came across as selfish. Like
I agree.
It's all he is, and I don't think that's accurate. So because I think you're seeing now that when he's got other stars around him, other shooters, other stars, Joe Harris who can light it up from 3, I got a problem. Like Westbrook gets heat for this too, and Westbrook definitely shoots too much. But boy, I don't think you can be called selfish when you're getting 12, 13, 14 assists in a game.
No,
right? Can't. Like that's a pass. That's at least 14 passes, right? So I think it's unfair. No. So that's why he opened my eyes. Harden opened my eyes a little bit this year to how really good of an all-around player he is. But anyway, just to the Knicks, I'm using that as an example to say superstars, LeBron, John Morant, Mitchell, Dame Lillard, who's just I just absolutely love him. Superstars could get their own shot in some way, shape, or form when they want to, when they need to. And Randall just struggled big time with that.
Shout out to Rich Davila. He's been waiting for weeks for the Dame Steph comparison.
I think
he's ready. He's waiting.
I can do it right now, especially after Dame just ripped off 55 points the other night. And I think he proves my point. You know what? I will do it right now. Steph is so great, right? This is again saying that Dame is better, or I guess I'd say maybe I'd rather have him, or I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Steph. It doesn't mean Steph sucks. Like I hate this thing where like we say, well, I'd rather have A over B, and that means B is shit on the bottom of my shoe. I think that's so unfair and unnecessary, right? Like
that was aggressive.
Like, come on, man. Like, just because I'm saying I think Dame is better doesn't mean Steph sucks. So let's just get that out of the way. It's the LeBron, Michael Jordan thing. Like, oh, what do you mean Michael's better than LeBron? Well, LeBron sucks. No, I think he's the second best player in the history of sport. I just don't think he's better than one guy. Is that okay? Can I think one guy ever was better than him? Right. So I actually think I've seen Steph come up short in fourth quarters a number of times. I'm not saying he's never hit big shots or game winners. I just mean I've seen him come up small and really like have poor shooting performances in fourth quarters before. And the other thing is, this is where I was going to go originally. CJ McCollum was out for a while this season. So was Nurkic. They were both out for a while, for at least a decent stretch. So when people say, well, Steph didn't have anybody, didn't have Clay. Well, neither did Dame. And Dame got his team into the playoffs and Steph missed. And Steph, who had 2 chances to make it in the play-in tournament, lost to LeBron on one leg and lost to Ja Morant, almost a rookie. So, and I look at Dame and I say, what did he hit? Like 3 game-winning or game-tying shots the other night? Like, he's come up clutch, and he comes up clutch from like 100 feet from. I don't know. It's bananas the shots that he hits sometimes. Like, and Steph does too. So don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like in game-winning, game-tying situations. Listen, we're talking about the difference. Like literally, one of my few hairs that I have left. That much of a difference between two. I think I've seen Dame come up clutch and big. And in the end,
excuse me,
we're seeing when Steph doesn't have superstars around him, they're not a very good team. And Dame doesn't have superstars around him, but they make the playoffs every friggin' year. They never miss. They never miss.
I would agree. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I would take Steph by the same hair, just the other way, because I just think I don't know. I just think, and Steph's had more opportunities. He's been in bigger games, more opportunities.
And that's fair.
And I get it, but
I think that's fair to say he's got more championships. But I see Dame has always done it. I don't want to say by himself. CJ McCollum's a nice player, but he's barely a number 2, and he's not always available.
But I love watching Dame play too.
God, dude,
it just sucks that they're at 10 o'clock every fucking night, and
it does.
On the East Coast,
and it's Portland.
And they're not even on TNT that much. You got to have the NBA TV or package, whatever, to watch them.
And Coward was talking about this today. It's often really hard, especially through the draft, but in general, if you're not the Lakers, the Celtics, the Heat, it's hard to get that second guy.
I know.
And, you look at Dallas, they were never really able to get Dirk Nowitzki a second guy. They're struggling to find a second guy for Luka. It's just hard to get a second, that number 2, like a really nice number 2. You saw what LeBron looked like on the Lakers without AD his first year there. Like they were they're not good. They weren't good. And then he gets AD and suddenly they're fantastic. I would love to see Dame play with a real number 2, like a Giannis type player. I think then you would even see his greatness even more.
Well, I was going to say something on the other end of it. I'd like to see Julius Randle with a Damian Lillard.
With a real number 1. Yeah.
With a real number 1. Like something like that. Like just like throw it on the opposite end of it. But because I think, McCollum's a nice player, but
he's a nice
he's a nice player. I think Randle's better than him if he was a number 2. I do. And if Barrett developed more, I think they could have something nice there if they got a player like that. But like you're just wasting him out there at the Blazers. I mean, what are they?
I think that's what's even more amazing, right? That's what makes him. That's to me why I say I'm more.
But how much more does he have?
He does it with less.
It's like you can't do that every night.
Shooters last for a long time. I don't know how long he could be this elite for
right
because he does carry an entire franchise on his back, and that's hard.
And he doesn't miss many games either. Like he plays a lot. Yeah, so
you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that part of it. So I don't know. That's just what me. I just look at him. I look at him as a game winner. I look at him as very clutch. I've seen Steph come. Interesting when you look at some of the games where the Warriors won with KD there. It was often KD coming up with a clutch shot. Green coming up with an offensive rebound put back. Klay Thompson a lot of times it wasn't Steph who came up big in the fourth quarter. Now, to his credit, a lot of times he deferred to other guys because he's an unselfish player. And I will give him credit for that because if he wanted to, he could take over anytime. He's the man with the ball. And he never did that. He took a back seat when KD came in because KD's sensitive. And I give him actually credit for that. I give him credit for that. It's not a knock.
No friction, no fights.
No.
It was... Yeah,
to me that makes him even more special, not less.
Sure.
But him taking a little bit of a back seat to KD because he showed this year, and this is what I mean by I'm saying, like, I'm not saying he stinks.
No, you're not
like,
trashing
he showed
Curry.
this
No,
year, if he wants to, he could take over games. He led the league in scoring. He's 6'2". Like just slow down on that he can't do it, and that's why he deferred to KD. No, he did what was best for the team to win games and championships, and I give him credit for that. I don't take that away from him, right? That's a mistake to try to say, well, that's a shortcoming of his. Bullshit. Like, it was a feature, you know? That's why they won. That's why they were there. So, boy, I don't even know where the hell we were going. we jumped all over the place.
Well, we had Nick conversation. We just wrapped that up, and then I wanted to give Davila his due from the tease from the Dame
right. So that's what it was. So and Rich, that's why, because I just think he carries his team more than Steph does to wins. The championships were because that was a great team. If you look at them as individuals carrying their team, I think Dame carries Portland more solo than Steph does solo. How about that? I think the funny thing is they're almost identical players.
I know.
They're both unselfish. They both can shoot from the friggin' rafters. You know what? They need to redo that old McDonald's commercial with Larry and Michael shooting from all over the place. You need to do it with those two guys because I've never seen anything like it with the two of them.
Crazy.
It's incredible to make it look like, when you can shoot from 10 feet behind the 3-point line and you're not like, oh, why would you do that? You're like, yeah. Like it's so special. It's really something else to watch, man. And how many of those they just like nothing. They don't touch anything.
Like you dropped it from the back of the basket, the backboard. I know, it's crazy.
It's bananas. So that's why I choose Dame over Steph. It's by a hair. It's not a lot, but that's why, because I think he's more clutch. I think he carries the team by himself more than Steph does by himself. Okay.
Gotcha.
So we talked about all the winners. What's interesting is that LA is having a hell of a time finding winners when all season they kind of had the favorites in the Lakers and the Clippers. The Clippers are just so strange to me.
I know.
5 games into this series, the home team has won a total of 0 games. I've never heard anything like this. And do they play tonight or tomorrow? They play tomorrow. Is it tonight?
Oh no, the Lakers play tonight.
The Lakers play tonight.
Yeah, I think the Clippers play tomorrow.
And they're probably going to lose.
Yeah, tomorrow.
The Lakers are probably going to lose tonight.
God, I hope so.
Could we now acknowledge that LeBron James is no longer the best player in the NBA?
Oh, yeah.
There was a time, not that long ago, but there was a time when, and we saw it when he was on Cleveland, when if a guy like AD was hobbled or down, LeBron would just take over. He'd score 35, get 12 assists, 10 rebounds. Like, he would just take over. Those days are gone. Okay,
Yeah,
he's averaging 22 points a game in this series. He's the 17th leading scorer in the playoffs right now. Okay, he's still great. He could still do it in spurts and stretches. I wouldn't count him out. So I'm not even going there. I'm not counting them out. But he's not the best player in the league anymore because he can't carry a team. The best player in the league can carry his team to victories, and he just
Who would you say
can't do
is
that
the best
anymore.
player in the league right now?
Oh man, there's the face of the league, and then there's the best player in the league. I'm going to tell you, I think the best player in the league is probably James Harden. I got to be honest with you.
Wow.
I think he's the best player in the league.
Wow.
I think he's the most unstoppable player. I think he does the most. I think he makes his teammates better. And here's why. KD might be a better scorer if you wanted to. When KD's not on that team but Harden plays, the Nets are unbeatable. When Harden doesn't play, the Nets are a 500 team.
That's a good point.
And that just says to me he's a better player as far as making your team win. I think he's the best player in the league right now. Now, the face of the league, I think, is actually probably Steph.
The Greek Freak?
I just don't think so. I don't think a guy playing in Milwaukee can be the face of your league. I think it's Steph. I think it's Kevin Durant. I think right now those two guys are like the face of the league. And I think LeBron is still the face of the league in many, many ways.
What do you think about Luka?
Luka's a really interesting dude. Not particularly athletic.
No, he's not.
So here's something that I heard today that Rick Bucher was talking about. And he said the AAU is killing American basketball the way it's played. He says, I've never seen so much talent. Guys in their 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, the way they're able to handle the ball and the way they're able to shoot threes at such a young age, it's unbelievable, right? But everything that is Tatum.
Tom says Tatum.
Is Tatum the face of the league? I don't think he is yet. I mean,
he's good, but he's not top 5, top 7, maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to see him. You know what the problem is? Every time the Celtics have come up against another elite player, Tatum is the second best of those guys.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And then they lose. They end up losing. Whether it's just so I don't think so. Yeah, although I think he's fantastic, and I understand why they never wanted to trade him. So I get that, but I don't think he's not the face of the league yet. That's for sure. He's definitely a top. What do you think? Definitely top 10.
I think maybe 7, top 8, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
we'd have to go down a list on that one. I'd have to think about that. That's a good question, though. I like his game a lot. That's for certain. That is for certain.
And we'll get into it in a little while about the Celtics, but they got some work to do as well. So,
but what was I talking about?
Harden made best player in the league and face of the league. What the hell are we talking about?
Yeah. I don't know.
We're all over the place today, which is fine.
I'm rambling everywhere.
No, not only you, we both are. But.
No, I am. It's okay. I enjoy it. But we were talking about Lakers and Clippers. It's bizarre that the two teams that were probably two of the best teams all season. I don't know. You asked about Luka. That's what that was the last year about.
There we go.
Yeah, he's just interesting because he's not particularly athletic, but he somehow always gets a shot off. Lots of assists. They're calling him Little Bird. Bird was an infinitely better shooter than he was, but everything else about his game is very similar. It's a big
slow motion, but he gets it done. It's funny.
Oh, so I know what I was telling you about how AAU is killing American basketball players because they're getting incredible one-on-one skills, but they don't know how to play basketball. Like they don't understand angles, they don't understand team movement, vision. It's just not there. And Luka is a European player, and that's why he's not anywhere near as athletic, can't really jump. Like it's just not there, but he understands angles. He understands manipulation. How do I get a guy to move? Sorry about that. How do I get a guy to move with a pump fake so that I can create an opening over here? He's a basketball player. He's an elite basketball player, whereas a lot of other guys are elite athletes that play basketball that they don't understand the game until later. This is another thing we talked about Ben Simmons before. This is one area where he is incredibly strong, is he understands angles, he understands movement, he understands moving defensive players and finding an open guy. And in a league where you don't see that a lot, it's impressive. But that's what you get from Luka. He understands basketball. Yeah. He's not a particularly great three-point shooter. He's not a particularly good foul shooter, interestingly, for a guy who can score pretty much anytime he wants. But he does hit threes, and he does get to the foul line. So it is interesting how he does what he does. Again, it all comes down to winning games, man. Can you win games? And, he hasn't gotten out of the first round yet, but they're beating a Clippers team who is a better team than Dallas right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Lakers and the Clippers. It's fascinating. I kind of hope the Lakers go down. We talk about Nick Wright from FS1, and I want to see him in mourning for the next month and have to talk about how it's over. I will tell you who, from watching, 76ers have really impressed me if Embiid is healthy.
Yeah.
I think a team
He's not, though.
He is not. We'll see if he's able to play. I think a team that I think is flying under the radar, has been healthy. He probably came into the playoffs the healthiest and had high expectations previous to this year, but then because they didn't meet those expectations, their expectations were lower, who I think could actually win the championship this year because of a condensed season and a short off season. The Milwaukee Bucks look really, really good. Like really good, like dominant good. Giannis is not forcing threes. He's playing his game, and he can do that because they have enough other really good shooters and defensive players. Yes. So while everybody's talking, interestingly, the best series of the whole playoffs might be coming up starting this weekend because Milwaukee's playing Brooklyn.
Yeah,
that actually intrigues me.
That's a juicy second round matchup for sure.
Yeah, because you got maybe one of the best top 5 defensive team against, I don't know, maybe one of the best offensive teams talent wise that we've seen. A very long time. So, but I think Milwaukee, there's a really good chance that they're the ones who come out of East. I could see that. I don't think the West is as strong as they've been in the past. Also, I think the West is a little overrated. Like, do you think Utah's a dominant team? Do you think the Lakers, the Clippers, Phoenix, they're all good, but
but they're not like it used to be with the Lakers. I
actually think the East has better elite teams. I think the Sixers, Nets, and Bucks are better than all those teams. All 3 of those teams are better than all the teams out west right now. I actually think they are.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Anyway, we'll end with that. We'll end our playoff talk with that, but not the NBA talk, because we kind of got some news yesterday. I don't know. I guess I'll say surprising news on both ends with the Celtics. The fact that Danny Ainge resigns. I don't know what you want to call that. Retires seems like I'm never doing this anymore, and I highly doubt that.
Yeah, there was talk saying that he's going to go somewhere else. So
yeah, I mean, he's got land in Utah. Utah is set with their GM and stuff like that, so they don't need it. But if it ever came open, I'm sure he would do it. But I thought what was more surprising was that they bumped Brad Stevens up to president of basketball operations. What do you think that's about there?
Well, when I first got the alert, I thought he was going to wear both hats.
Stevens?
I thought he was going to coach and run the organization. Like, Don Nelson's done that before, and other guys. Thibodeau's done that with the Minnesota Timberwolves before. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I got the other alert saying he's out of coaching and he's just going to do that. There's something we're missing here. I don't know what it is. Like, Chris Mannix was on DP this morning, and he's out of Boston. He's like, he was an ex-Celtic ball boy, for what that's worth, too. That's a funny note.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah. So he's kind of tuned in up there, but he's like, I don't know. I don't get it. He's like, you're 40. What's Stevens? 44 years old. He's one of the best young coaches in the world, guy. College and pro. And you're just going to step away. Listen, and you can always go back to coaching. Like, if this is something you really want, if you want to take a break, take a step back, and take a shot at this, I get it. But there's something we're missing here, I think.
So when Mannix says he doesn't get it, does he not get it from a Brad Stevens perspective, or does he not get it from a Boston Celtics perspective? Because for me, if you're Brad Stevens, this is job security. Like, executives don't get moved as quickly as coaches. Coaches could be gone. I thought he was going to step down as coach no matter what. Now, what I thought might happen was that I thought he was going to go up to the front office, but I thought he was going to work hand in hand with Danny Ainge and kind of learn the ropes. I didn't think Ainge was going to move out so quickly, because I think Brad Stevens is a really smart guy, but he has no front office and team building experience whatsoever. No. So that's a hell of a thing for him to kind of be thrust into. Well, I'll tell you what I think. So we also know at the same time, pretty much on the same day or a day later, we find out that Coach K is retiring from Duke, right? So he'll go through this season. We now know he'll go through this season. And then do you know the name of the guy, the assistant coach is going to take his place?
John Shire, ex-player, ex-national champion. Yeah.
Okay. You are probably the only person in America, along with the one dude who works for ESPN, who knows who the hell he is, right? And so I found this interesting. The timing is why I came up with my conspiracy theory. So I'll give you my conspiracy theory here, okay? Here's what I think happened. I think Coach K was going to retire. I don't think he just decided 2 days ago that he's going to retire. I think he knew he was going to retire. I think he's known for a little while that he was going to retire. And I think him/Duke/him and Duke, I don't know, but I think they wanted Brad Stevens. But Brad Stevens is the head coach of the Celtics. So the Celtics lose in the playoffs here, right? They get knocked out by Brooklyn.
Yep.
And they say, can we talk to Brad Stevens now? We'd like to hire him as the coach. And maybe they got granted permission and maybe they didn't. I don't know. Who the hell knows about that? Maybe we'll find out at some point. Okay. But in the midst of them talking or not talking, or at least Boston knowing that Duke wants Brad Stevens, because how the hell do you follow up Coach K?
You don't.
You don't follow it up with, what's his name again?
John Shire.
John Shire. I don't think John Shire is your heir apparent. No offense to Coach K. Okay, so how do you follow that up? I think a young Coach K-like guy.
Proven, yeah.
Who's in Brad Stevens is a perfect fit. If you're trying to continue this,
legacy,
status, right?
Yeah, juggernaut that Duke basketball is.
So Duke wants him. Celtics know that, but they know that they got a really special guy in their hands, smart guy in their hands. So they say, what do we got to do to keep you here? And Danny Ainge might have already been thinking about being done. I think because I kind of got the sense that he might have been, getting a little disenchanted with the job that he's done. The way things are going.
He's been
a
long
time, 20 years.
Yeah.
This was their way. So the Celtics say, we don't want you to go. We'll bump you up to the front office, which is job security. You just said Danny Ainge was there for 25 years. How many coaches How many coaches did he go through?
A
number of them.
And Doc was there 10. So
that's I think that's I shouldn't say it's probably what happened. I think there's a good chance that that's what happened.
And
then Duke is stuck and they're like, okay, so who do we get now? And it's like, all right, we got, what's his name?
John Shire.
So I think that's how you end up with that.
So my next statement is going to make your idea even more prominent. The only college job that Stevens would go back for was the Duke job.
He has said that
this morning. He has said that years back. He said he would only go back to like college ranks or non-NBA if it was the Duke job.
Now, here's the thing. Coaching in general is volatile, right? So you're following Coach K. Now, if anybody could do it, I think Brad Stevens could probably do it and pull it off.
I would agree. Yeah.
But 3 years into a 10-year or 3 years into a 5-year contract, God forbid Duke went like 15-15 and didn't make the tournament or something like that. You're on the hot seat now. As an executive for the Boston Celtics, he's not going to see the hot seat for 10 years.
Right.
He's probably going to make $3, $4, $5 million a year as the CEO and president of basketball operations, whatever the hell he is. The pressure's off, and you have job security. And you can still, quote unquote, win a championship. It's not the same, but you can still win your championship. So I think if I had to guess, if I had a bet, we'll say, I'll bet you that's what happened. And then for John, I think for John, I think it's risky for the Celtics because now you're asking a guy who's never been involved in a hiring process for a coach to now hire your successor and hire a new coach for the Celtics, who are not a bad team. They have some really good pieces in place.
I know, they do.
And you're also going to ask him to now bring some more pieces to Boston. I just think it would have been nice if he had done it under Ainge for a year or two, at least a year.
What are you hearing candidate-wise? Jason Kidd?
Okay, so I have a couple names here that I like. I did hear Jason Kidd, and I have to tell you, I don't friggin' get it.
I don't either.
I just don't get it. Can someone show me where Jason Kidd has been a successful head coach in the NBA? I don't know. Is he good with X's and O's? Is he good at motivating players? Because I haven't seen either.
Nope.
I just don't get it. So to me, I cross him off the list. I'm not interested. I have 3 names here of former head coaches, never before head coaches, and one guy that's an assistant. And I love them all, and I'd be happy with any one of these guys getting the job. I think Mark Jackson gets no credit. I've mentioned him before. He gets no credit for the work he did at Golden State. He was there before Kerr. He kind of put that kind of hard work ethic into those guys. I think Mark Jackson's a really, really, really good coach. He's an East Coast guy.
Yep.
I know he's a New York guy, but he's an East Coast, tough, hard-nosed, Celtic type of guy. I think he's a perfect fit. Okay, so that's one. Number 2, so he's a former head coach that I think would be. Assistant coach that I think would be an excellent coach because as a player, he was basically a coach on the court, just Sam Cassell. I think he's a current assistant with the Sixers, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's with the Sixers. I've always thought that Sam Cassell was Sam Cassell to me was always an overachiever. I don't think he was necessarily the best shooter, the best ball handler, the quickest, but he always got the job done. And I think that's because he was smart and he understood basketball. And you can always see him chirping and talking to players on the court and motivate him, get him moving. So I think he'd be a great candidate. I always just thought very highly of him. And then finally, a guy who was not a head coach, and I don't think he's an assistant right now, but I do think he might be in someone's front office, but I'm not sure. I've always thought Chauncey Billups would be a really, really good head coach. He's another one who I just thought always showed great leadership.
Absolutely.
Never the highs and lows. He just was a real level-headed player, smart player. I think he understands maybe more than the other two guys even. I think he understands today's player. So those are the three guys that I saw as potentials that I think any one of those three would be fantastic hires.
You know, I was going to say with Chauncey Billups, you know, you like to see a guy be an assistant before a head coach, but that's not the NBA anymore because Jason Kidd will write into coaching, Steve Nash will write into coaching.
Steve Nash, I was just going to say.
Yeah, so that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so those are my lists, and I think that's actually the order I wouldn't mind seeing. I would love to see Mark Jackson get another chance. I think Sam Cassell has so much potential. I think he really has a lot of potential. I just always thought highly of Chauncey Billups.
You think Van Gundy would take a swing again?
He might, but I mean, I don't know. When you've been out of the game for that long, and I think just the nature of working on television, you know, there are days that we do this podcast. I'm sure there are days we do it that you didn't have a good day, but you have to come on and you have to turn it on. Okay. There's certainly been days when I didn't have a good day, but you come on and you put that behind you and you have to, you know, we're here to talk sports, but we're also here to entertain. It's all part of it, right? So you have to just put that shit beside you. I think sometimes when you work on TV, I got John Gruden on my mind here, okay? I think sometimes you work on TV, when you're announcing the game, you're an analyst, you're as much entertaining as you are analyzing the game. And I think it's then hard to then take that mask off when you've done it for so long and go back to coaching. I think Gruden's having some struggles with that. And I can see Jeff Van Gundy, who I think is really smart. I think he was a great coach with the Knicks. I think he's a really good coach. I think it's hard after a long time and then being on TV to take that kind of TV personality mask off and be a coach. So it wouldn't totally turn me off, but I don't see a high success rate with that kind of a hire. I just don't. I don't know. I think when you're that away from the game that long, it's hard. Players are different. From the last time Jeff Van Gundy was coaching, players are different. What they think they're entitled to as players, what they think they should have a say in certain things as players. I don't know that he's ready for that. I know he sees it. Obviously, he sees it as an announcer. I don't know if he's ready to work with that as a coach.
And you know what's funny about with Brad Stevens now? We have no idea what he's thinking. We have no idea what approach he's going to take. We have no idea who he's looking at because he was going to want to make maybe not a big splash, but obviously the right hire.
Yes,
and a guy
first hire is
I'm thinking maybe an assistant that was under him. Maybe
I don't like that.
For the guy you trust.
I don't like that.
I don't love it either, but it's safe right now for him.
Is it though? Is it though? Because if that guy doesn't do good, it's even more of a reflection on you. Like, so you did a bad job of coaching this team or not a good enough job of coaching this team, which I actually think is not true. And then you hired one of your guys and he sucked too. Like or if you bring in an outsider, it's like, well, we took a shot, you know. What I will say is that if anybody, you know, he knows this team better than anybody. So you're hoping that because he knows the team well, he would find a good fit. But yeah, I think you want to bring in an outsider. I don't know that you want to hire from within.
I got you.
It's interesting. It's an interesting situation now. You know, then you get the rumors. Then you get the rumors that there are a lot of players in the NBA that don't want to come to play to Boston because it's perceived as like a racist town, which I never knew. I never really heard of that before. Kyrie Irving, who thinks the earth is flat.
A lot of shit.
But who am I to say? I don't live in Boston. I've never been to a game in Boston. I don't know what it's like to play in Boston. So maybe it is like that. I have no idea. But which brings me to another topic that I didn't have on this list, but I'm going to throw this out at you. What are your thoughts on like the way we've seen like negative fan interaction, the throwing shit, the running on the court? What are your thoughts about that?
I hate it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. You know, we've been locked up for a year or so with the pandemic, and the NBA finally lets you in the doors, and this is the shit you're gonna do. And it's not one incident. There's been like 4 incidents, and like back-to-back nights. Like it's. All right, listen. The popcorn thing is stupid. spitting on somebody, I think is hard. I will never understand that. I think that is like one of the worst things you can do to somebody.
It's absurd.
And then you spit over people to get to the guy, dude. Like, never go to another game again. You know, it's unreal. And then what was the other one with the guy running on the court to touch the net or touch the back? Are you just overserved at that point? Like, what the hell makes you do that?
Yeah. I've heard people say like people have been away from the games, and first of all, let me say this is not new. I know people think this is new. This is not new. This has been going on for a long time in the NBA specifically because they're so close to the players. Yeah, but there's been incidences, and it happens all the time. There's no friggin' excuse for this whatsoever. And here's why more than anything. You would never do this shit if you just saw these guys on the street.
Exactly.
You ain't spitting on 6'3", 6'4" Russell Westbrook if you were standing in front of a Wawa or 7-Eleven.
Right.
He would murk you in 5 seconds flat, dude. You just wouldn't do it. And regardless even of that part of it, is that how you would want someone to treat you? You want to yell, you want to curse, you want to call names, you want to like say whatever.
Yeah.
I don't accept that like fans can't say, you know, most anything other than like some of the nastiest of nasty.
Yeah,
right?
Like the chance Knicks had for Trae Young were fun, like the Walding thing.
Yes. I just say don't get racist, don't get sexual. Okay, because there's other people around, and that's just twisted. Like you're just a sick bastard if you're willing to say certain things like "fuck your mother." Like that, you're gonna say that in front of other people. Like you don't deserve to be a part of society for that kind of stuff. Okay, but anything else to me is game on. Okay, as far as speech, say what you want to say. Okay, that's all fine. But once you start getting into like touching players, throwing stuff at players, spitting on players, I hear them being these people are being like suspended. They can't go to the arena anymore, dude. There should be charges pressed.
I agree.
These are physical assaults. Popcorn is like not going to hurt anybody, so that one's debatable. But you shouldn't be. You wouldn't dump. Would you dump the popcorn on a guy standing right next to you? Like, come on. I know. It's just stupid, dude. It's just bad. It's just shitty. Like you're just a shitty person for doing stuff like that.
Well,
I got no tolerance for that kind of crap.
We grew up at Yankee Stadium, so we've heard a lot of stuff at a young age.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was at a Jets Bronco game in 1993. I was 8 years old. I almost got thrown off the stands. This guy was nuts. Jets win the game. Boomer Esiason was the quarterback. Apologizes to me. Apologizes to my parents. Like, so we've been in the thick of things.
Yeah,
but like.
Come on, man.
Like it's like, come on. It's
just be a person. Be a person.
Spitting on somebody to me is like it gives me like the chills.
Oh my god.
Like,
Yeah, you spit on someone, you deserve to be brought down to the locker room and let them just beat the living daylights out of you.
Listen,
it's just unacceptable.
And they're talking about like banning them from the stadium. How are they gonna know that? If they
whatever. That's why I think more charges should be pressed.
There should be charges. There should be assault charges. There should be a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there should be assault charges, and whether it's fines, heavy fines, jail time, probation, whatever. There should be something. Maybe
because that's how you make it stop.
Hey, work with the arena and say the guy's got to come and clean the arena, twice a week for the next 6 months or something. Like really. Pay some kind of like debt to society. Sure. It's just not good. It's not good. And the penalty should be public.
I'm glad
everyone should see the price that these types of guys. And it's funny. I'm saying that I'm so vehement about this because it just looks bad on the fans, which is unfair because almost 100% of the fans don't do this kind of shit. It's one single asshole.
That's the problem.
But I'm so pro fan. And I don't want to say anti-player, but like I'm pro-fan. I want what's best for the fans because these games don't exist if you don't have fans. Fans are the ones that pay the salaries, not the owners. The owners make the money. The players make the money. It's the fans that are the only ones that pay. The fans are the only ones that have less money in their pocket after games. The owners have more. The players have more.
That's true.
I'm pro-fan. I want what's best for the fans, okay? And this is actually bad business for fans. This is bad for fans because – this is the type of thing that they're going to push you back from the players. They're going to create barriers. They're going to create a buffer zone. When the players go through the tunnel and you can put your hand down and get a high five if you're lucky or a wristband or sneakers or whatever, they're going to put a 6-10 foot, like you see in the outfield of some baseball games, those like tarps. They're going to put a 6 or 7 foot tarp so that you can't get anywhere near those.
Or
that's bad for the fan.
now with the pandemic, they're going to put those plexiglass things up so you can still see, but you can't get over.
And it's bad for the fan.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
It's bad business for the fan in the end. So and it's just wrong from a human perspective. It's just the wrong thing to do. So just enough, dude, guys. Just stop that shit. Give me a break. Enjoy the game. Boo, yell, scream, hiss, whatever. Do all that stuff, but don't be an asshole. Okay? Don't be physical. Don't get physical.
Yeah.
You deserve to get dumped on your head. All right. Enough of that. NFC North.
Well, before you go into the NFC North, I want to hit on Coach K a little bit more here. I got some stats for you.
Oh, yes. Please.
To honor him as he retires, as he said he's going to step down after this year. So, dude, some of these numbers I'm going to throw you are nuts. They're nuts. So, he spent 5 years at Army after playing for Bobby Knight at Army. He spent 40 years at Duke. This would be what, 41 years?
I just want to say what's up, Lee. Thanks for watching. It's my sister's actually checking us out, so that's cool. Sorry about that.
No. Sisters, family's important. Thank you for the support. Over 40 years at Duke. Dude, I'm 36.
How old is he? 68?
He's got to be in his 70s. He's got to be.
70s? Still not a gray hair in his head. Is that dyed? Does he dye his hair?
Oh, come on. It's like
he's got
paint.
it, right?
It's paint.
It's the LeBron spray on.
Yeah, the Carlos Boozer. Dude, 12 Final Fours.
12. Incredible.
5 national championships.
Only second to Wooden, right?
Yep.
Okay.
12 ACC regular season championships. 15 ACC tournament championships.
Incredible.
3-time gold medal as a head coach. And then he's got golds as like the other games and assistants. And dude, it's insane.
Six total gold medals, yeah.
So his contribution to basketball in general, and you Kobe, LeBron, these guys love him.
And what's even more fascinating about when he took over Duke, that was not a mega program. That is not.
No.
They have maybe the smallest gymnasium in all of Division I basketball. It's a private school, so they don't get state funding like the big schools do.
Right. You're fighting with North Carolina. They were in their prime then when he got the job.
Right. With Dean Smith.
So
yeah.
We're 6 miles away, 8 miles, whatever it is. Crazy.
No, it's amazing. And that's why I said we talked about, if Brad Stevens were to take that over, maybe he could kind of keep it going. John, what's his name? Shire?
John Shire. There you go.
Doesn't have a prayer. Like, you got no prayer, dude. I would love to see him pull it off. I would love to see him pull it off. He doesn't have a prayer. Nobody, listen, look at it this way. Who, I don't know how many years it's been now, 40, 50 years. Who's followed John Wooden?
Right.
I mean,
right.
Guys have come and gone. Some have had success and some have done okay. But we still, to this day, when you think UCLA basketball, you think of John Wooden.
Oh, you just gave Mikey Mikey's got the chills right now. Oh, hang in there, buddy. Hang in there.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's unfair. It's not fair. I'm not trying to break John Shire's balls. I don't think you're going to fail because you stink. You're going to fail because you can't. No one could live up to that standard. It's like a human trying to be Jesus. Like, you're going to fail. Like, it's just I would never want to be the guy who follows the guy, man. It's the worst job ever.
I got 2 names for you that I thought maybe. I mean, I guess Coach K handpicked Shire, obviously, but I thought there were 2 names that I felt.
I'm sure
I thought, yeah, you did 40 years, you could handpick whatever you want. But 2 names I thought. One is Quinn Snyder, ex-player for Coach K, but he's killing it with the Jazz now. I mean,
is that a demotion though? Because here's what I say.
I know.
Again, job security. If you go to Duke, maybe you stay there for the next 20 years.
You retire there. You're done.
It's not like he's going to get fired from Utah anytime soon. They're the number 1 team in the West right now, but that could change in a year.
Well, that's what I thought. If the Jazz were struggling like the Celtics were, like Steven stepped down, like maybe it's something you think about, but not when they're there.
I thought of him
good
too.
For a couple years now, too.
I thought of him too.
And then another name that I heard, well, not heard, but I thought of, who Coach K, I think this is one of Coach K's favorite players, and I think he always wanted to be Bobby Hurley.
His name has come up in circles too. Is he coaching at all right now?
He's coaching at Arizona State.
Okay.
So I think he was at Buffalo a couple years back, and he was pretty good at Buffalo.
The problem with Bobby Hurley is
But he
that
hasn't been great
today's
at Arizona
players
State.
don't know who the hell he is.
Yeah.
As a player today,
Right.
you'd have to do your research to find out that, Bobby Hurley is one of the greatest Duke players, had a big part in putting Coach K on the map, like beating UNLV,
absolutely.
almost shit his pants on the basketball court and national television. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of good and bad.
Just something
Hurley.
that hits close to home to me is Juwan Howard at Michigan. A lot of his players didn't know who the hell he was. They didn't know he was a Fab Five guy or whatever.
That's true.
So
good point.
there's a lot of learning.
The difference is I think Michigan has less history, and the history that there is there with Michigan is Fab Five. Like that's the biggest thing.
That's the right guy. Yeah, exactly.
Whereas Coach K is bigger than those. Coach K is bigger than any team or any player that came through. That's the difference.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
So, like, you'd be hard pressed. Anybody who knows the Fab Five, you'd find a lot of college basketball fans who know Fab Five, Michigan Fab Five. Of those same fans that know the Fab Five, I bet you 95% of them couldn't tell you who the coach was.
Right.
Okay, that's the difference. Like, you're trying to follow up the coach, you're not following up the Fab Five.
Exactly.
So,
and did you know that the coach got fired in the middle of that? Well, Fisher took over for Frieder in the middle of that.
Right.
Schembeck went bananas. He goes, I want a Michigan guy here. You're not. And funny enough, Frieder went to Arizona State where Hurley is now. So full circle there.
Where Hurley is now, 6 degrees of separation there. So, I would not want that job. It's a very, it's following up Parcells. It's following up,
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. If
legends.
you're John Sherry, you can't say no.
Of course not.
But
it's just not.
It's just you're not going to
might never get that job again.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah. So
listen, I'm kind of rooting for him. I hope he does well.
Of
but
course,
I don't think it's going to go very well either.
Because it can't. Because you can't live up to the standard. This is what I'm saying. You can't be Jesus. You know what I mean? And Coach K, as far as in basketball nomenclature, he's Jesus.
Yeah. In
this current time. So it's impossible. It's not fair, but good luck. Never know. My guess is Duke is in the shitter within 5 years.
Good luck.
That's
so much sarcasm.
That's what I think. I don't see it happening. And the funny thing is that there'd be a lot of happy people to see Duke in the shitter. Who wouldn't be happy is ESPN, because ESPN Duke is just as much a part of why ESPN even exists today as anything else. Let's be real.
Dick Vitale just lit a candle.
He made a living. He became a world figure basically on Duke basketball.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of people that are very sad right now. NFC North. I keep saying AFC. I don't know why I want to say AFC. What the hell?
Well, listen, save that for next week.
Jesus. Okay. And next week I'll be saying NFC because I'm a big dummy.
Can't wait.
Detroit Lions. Let's start off with the Detroit Lions. Full reload, reboot, whatever the hell you want to say. And they have the wild ass hair of head coaches in the NFL and Dan Campbell right now. Did you see his latest?
With the NASCAR helmet?
Yeah.
Tremendous. This guy is bananas.
Do you like that? From your
I like
coach?
it now. I like it now that he's June. If he's doing this shit in October when he's 0-6, no, I don't care now. Listen, you're in OTAs, you're doing whatever. I don't care.
What do you think a player? What do you think a Detroit Lion player thinks of that? Like, how do you look at your coach if he's doing that?
Wow, that's a good question because we don't know what the closed doors.
Because that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what I think or what you think. It doesn't matter what Colin Cowherd thinks or Dan Patrick thinks. It matters like what do those players think. Here's why I say that. The other night, somehow I always get back to bashing LeBron. The other night, LeBron left the court with like 5 minutes left. They're down by 30.
Yeah. Really, I don't love that either. But.
I don't love it because he's going back for treatment. Oh, because he couldn't go for treatment 5 minutes from now, like when the game is actually over. Yeah. Like, give me a break. He's not going for treatment.
I know.
He's disgusting.
Everyone else has to sit there. You sit there.
But it was like, it's not good for the game of basketball. Kids are watching. Like, whatever, dude. There's way more things to be upset as if you're a parent in the NBA than whether or not LeBron James went to the locker room. As far as the game goes, as far as like what perception I have him, that doesn't matter. I have a question of what do his teammates think? Now, you'll never hear anything public of Lakers players saying, "Yeah, what a douche move for him to leave the court before the game is over." Like, that's kind of shit. You're never going to hear that because no one's going to talk out of class about LeBron. But you got to think that they probably didn't like it. They get over it, and it's in the long run, it's not going to matter. But at the moment, they didn't like it. Like, you wouldn't like it. Come on. And that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter what I think of Dan Campbell wearing this helmet and what the media thinks or you think. But it does matter what the players think, and only in the sense of, do they not take him serious? Do they start to not take him serious? Does he start to come across as a goofball?
Well,
you know what I mean?
The longer this goes, you got to think, all right, dude, enough. Now we're getting, July's coming up. We're gonna start training camp here. Let's do football stuff now.
Yeah,
but
and again, we don't get to see him interact with the players, and he may be totally serious, and they may take him totally serious, and he may be doing a great job. But the public perception is starting to become like it's almost
a clown show.
Yes,
it's almost like you're recruiting, like the Lane Kiffin shit he does, and Mike Leach. Dude, like, just these guys are getting paid. This isn't, you're not a rah-rah.
These are grown-ups. They're husbands. They're fathers. They're not college kids, and he knows that. This guy was an NFL player. He's played not that long ago. Right. So new coach, new quarterback, new GM. Had a nice draft. I actually think they've had a pretty positive offseason, frankly. Depending on how you look at Dan Campbell as a hire, new coach, so let's just call it fresh start. That's always, like, we look at that as a positive. New quarterback, really nice draft. A couple players fell to them that they probably, Penei Sewell, like, they probably weren't expecting.
Like, wide receivers are weak. They didn't really address that in the offseason. Yeah. That's going to be – they didn't really give Goff help there in that aspect.
Yeah.
Their defense is – can it be any worse than it was last year?
You're in a division with three teams that are clearly better than you right now.
Clearly
better than you. Okay, so let's look at their schedule to start the season.
But like you said, it's a solid
fresh start, right? Yeah, and I think just like the Jets, we talked about the Jets, like, there's reason to be excited, but don't get carried away. Have some patience. I think some of the moves that Detroit has made so far are good moves. Like, whether or not you like Dan Campbell, you could say that's a bad hire, then fine. But personnel-wise, between players that they brought in, players that they let go, and their draft, I think you should feel good. If you're a Lions fan, you should feel good. They're moving in the right direction when other teams in the division in the near future may be moving in the other direction. So the timing may work out for Detroit here, okay? But patience here. Let's look at their schedule. San Fran at home. They open with San Fran at home, at Green Bay, home against Baltimore, at Chicago, at Minnesota. I think there's a really good chance they start 0-5.
That's a tough start.
I think there's a really good chance they start 0-5.
That's a tough start.
So yeah, that's tough. So then it brings me back to, like, Dan Campbell, are you a serious guy? Because if you're looking at your coach as this silly goofball and you start 0-5, it's going to be really difficult for him to rally the troops, okay? Whereas Robert Saleh comes across as very professional, no nonsense. I don't want to see them go 0-5, but you would think they could handle 0-5 a little better than Detroit because they look professional, okay?
Yes.
Their Vegas win total is 5. I think if they even reached 5, that would be a win for them.
I'll give you my schedule, my win total later, but I got them. Okay. I got them hovering around that.
Yeah. All right, let's look. Minnesota Vikings certainly had a disappointing season last year. I don't think that's what they expected.
7-9 last year, not good.
It's not what they expected, and it was all because they had to let go because of salary cap and Kirk Cousins' salary. They had to let go of a lot of really quality defensive players, and they sucked on defense. Scoring is not their problem. They have nice wide receivers. You got Dalvin Cook in the backfield. They did draft a quarterback, interestingly enough. I think that tells you that they don't want to pay Kirk Cousins $40 million much longer.
Kirk is on notice, my friend.
And they picked a guy who I liked in Kellen Mond.
Oh, you love him.
And I think they got him at a good time. Was it second round? Second or third round?
I want to say third round, but I don't know if that's –
I think they did really well on getting him. So what do you think? One more season out of I don't even want to put a number on it. What I'll say is they're going to tolerate Kirk Cousins for one more season and see how he does. listen, if they go 12-5 and they win the division, I don't know, maybe you stick with Kirk Cousins, but I would be surprised if anything less than winning the division if they don't in some way, shape, or form move on.
And yet, but that all depends on what Kellen Mond does too. He's got to show you something to move on.
I don't think it does.
Oof.
I don't think it does. And here's why I say that. He'll have sat an entire season. He'll have watched a real pro. Kirk Cousins is a real pro. Like, he's a pro's pro. He's a hard worker, smart guy. I'll even say overachiever because he's not as physically gifted as I would say 80% of the quarterbacks in the league. But he gets the job done. He doesn't suck. I just think he's overpaid. Like, I think he's a productive quarterback. I just think he's overpaid. So you get a Kellen Mond who's a hard worker himself, watching a Kirk Cousins for a full season. I wouldn't be afraid to move on from him after 1 year if things don't go well this coming season.
But on the other end, Mike Zimmer's on the hot seat now too.
Yeah, well, it might not be his decision at that point.
Well, that's right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But then, but if he had part in drafting Kellen Mond and whatever, too, like I don't know. We don't know.
I don't think that was part of his decision because I don't know that's helping him at all.
But I get the impression he doesn't love Kirk either. But that just
hey, he's a defensive guy, and defensive guys hate their quarterbacks. They always have. Parcells always would get into it with Bill Sims. Oh my god, he just murdered the poor bastard. I think they tried to improve their defense over the offseason. Did they? I don't know. There's questions to be answered there. Let's look at their schedule.
Yep.
They got at Cincinnati. You should feel somewhat. You feel like you should be able to win the game, whether they will, but you feel like that's a game we can win. At Arizona, that's going to be tough to go out there, second game of the season. But listen, they're a sub 500 team, so maybe. Then it gets a little tough stretch. You got home against Seattle, home against Cleveland, and then home against Detroit. So you're on the road for your first 2 games, and then you get 3 straight home games.
Early bye week, which stinks. We always talk about the early bye.
Yeah, this is a tough team for me to read because they are very strong offensively and they have a defensive-minded coach. So you would think that they can improve on a defensive side, a well-respected defensive coach, by the way.
So
with a win total of 8.5, the Vegas win total is 8.5.
So I think with a break or two, they can compete for this division. I really do.
I think you're right. And we'll talk about what I think this division comes down to. I threw it out there on Facebook and Instagram earlier, and I think in a very unusual situation because nobody knows what's going to happen, it's going to come down to that. How about the Chicago Bears? I think no front office head coach combo saved their hides as much as Pace and Nagy did with the Justin Fields draft. They were really on a hot seat as it was. And then their quarterback coming into the season was Andy Dalton. I have an opinion on that in a minute, but I'm just going to say by drafting Justin Fields, I don't care what happens this year. I have to believe. I think Nagy's a really good coach. Listen, they went to the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years with Mitch Trubisky as their friggin' quarterback, man. I think he's god awful. I think he's probably the worst quarterback in the league. So I think Nagy's a good coach, but I think by drafting Justin Fields, I think they bought themselves one more season, regardless of what happens. Because if you get off to a bad start, then you go to Justin Fields and you can say, well, listen, we had a rookie quarterback. You got to give me one more off season with this kid to see what we can do. Okay. So all I would say with Justin Fields is don't rush it. Don't be in such a hurry.
Let Dalton start and let Fields learn a little bit.
Yeah, you got another year. I have to believe, and they have to believe that they bought another year with this draft pick. Be patient with Justin Fields. Don't be in such a rush.
And the run game improved down the stretch last year, which is going to help either quarterback. They got some weapons on the outside. Allen Robinson's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. He's a great player.
And let me ask you this, dude. Let me throw this out at you and answer me this question. They were 8-8 last year with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles playing terrible. So pretty much with Mitch Trubisky, they went 8-8.
Yeah.
Is Andy Dalton an upgrade? I don't even mean he's a Pro Bowler, but isn't he an upgrade from Mitch Trubisky?
Yes.
You got to think so, right?
Yes,
you got to think he's at least a 1 game, maybe a 2 game upgrade from Mitch Trubisky. Because Trubisky's bad, right? So you got to think they can win at least 1 more game, maybe 2 more games next year, which makes them a 9-8 team, a 9-8 team or a 10-7 team, which is a playoff team. And that's with Andy Dalton.
The thing that scares me with them a little bit is their defense now. Hicks, Mack, Quinn, and Trevathan are low 30+. That
making a
scares
lot
me
of
a little
money.
bit. And making a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a problem.
And their secondary's not great.
It's a problem for the future. It's a problem. Well, it's a problem for this year if
It's
you're
a
talking
problem.
about like
It's a problem.
injuries. If you're
It's a
saying
problem.
like they're old and decaying, that's a possibility. Yeah.
I mean, Hicks missed a lot of time last year, which probably cost. He's great in the middle. He's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Trevathan won Super Bowl with the Broncos. I like him a lot, but he gets lucky with having Roquan Smith next to him at linebacker. He saves him a lot of issues. But if you can get to the Alvin Mack's getting older, he hasn't. I mean, that trade with the Raiders has been something else because he's getting up there now. And if you can't get to the quarterback, your secondary is not going to save you.
Yeah, the funny thing about that Khalil Mack trade is I think it actually turns out to be a lose-lose
I was
instead of a win-win.
I was thinking as I was saying that, I'm like, did anyone win this trade?
Yeah, Chicago hasn't been any better with Khalil Mack, and they lost a shit ton of draft picks.
And the Raiders didn't take advantage of it at
And the
all.
Raiders did a shitty job of drafting with those draft picks. So, like, it was a lose-lose, which it was the rare lose-lose in the NFL. Let's look at their schedule.
So they have the third toughest schedule in the league right now. At
least that's how it never works out that way. But
I know you always say that, but it's fun to say, Pete. Come on, damn it.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm like a fucking buzzkill. I take it back. You're right. You're right, Scott. That's unbelievable.
Let's see how it turns out for him.
Let's see what happens. Let's look at the first 5 games here. They got at Rams, tough one, tough game to open up on the road. Yeah. Whether it's Andy Dalton or a rookie quarterback, boy, that's a tough place to go. You're going to go face Aaron Donald week 1. Hello. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
But then you're home to Cincinnati, but then you're at Cleveland, but then you're home to Detroit, and then at Vegas.
Wow, they're traveling all over the place. Well, they're in the middle of the country. So
they're going to get their frequent flyer miles in the first couple months of the season for sure. Now, they have a win total over and under of 7.5. Now, this is just me. This is what made me think of it. That win total made me think of it. I'm like, they won 8 games last year with a 16-game schedule, and Mitch Trubisky is their quarterback. You now have Andy Dalton, which is an upgrade. It's a slight upgrade, but it's an upgrade. And more or less the same team coming back, right? You have Allen Robinson still coming back, your number 1 weapon.
Anthony Miller's there, yeah.
Yeah, you actually have Tariq Cohen
coming back,
who wasn't. So in some ways, you're actually better. Your defense is more or less the same. And you upgraded at least slightly a quarterback. I just think this is like one of my best bets for over the total, because I think Andy Dalton is better. Just even if he's slightly better, that means they're going to – and you got one more game. You're playing one more game, and you just have to win as many as you did last year. I think this is like a lock for them to go over. I don't think they're a very good team. I don't think Andy Dalton's great, and I don't think Justin Fields is ready.
He's ready, right.
But 7.5 just seems low to me, so I think it's an over for that one. And then the enigma of the entire division is the Green Bay Packers, not because they're clearly the most talented team, they're clearly the best team, but the question comes down to this whole division, even the psychology of this division. If you're a team in this division, your psychology changes based on one thing and one thing only. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Packer? Because if you're the Chicago Bears or the Vikings, it really doesn't matter to Detroit, but if you're the Bears or the Vikings and Aaron Rodgers is playing, you're thinking at best you're playing for second place. Nobody's going to say that out loud, but in their deepest, darkest thoughts, they're thinking, listen, we want second place and we want to make the playoffs. The Bears made the playoffs last year, second place, 8-8. So like you're thinking, I want to make the playoffs. You want to be a playoff team. If Aaron Rodgers is not on the Packers, and I personally think the only way that happens is if he says I'm not playing, they're not going to try. I really don't think they're going to trade him. I just don't see it happen. I think they're going to play hardball with him. But if he doesn't play, boy, that just changes the whole landscape of the division. Because the reality is they're the best team. They're the best offense. They probably have the best or second best defense. It's a Super Bowl roster.
I was going to say,
there's
not much for me to add there because everything just starts and finishes with A-Rod going back there. Top O-line we mentioned the last couple of weeks. Top 10 defense. It helps because of Rodgers. Let's see what that defense does. If Rodgers isn't there, that's
because they're not on the field as often. They get a lot of first downs. Absolutely.
Exactly.
This is the Tim Tebow argument that I always used to make when Tebow was on when Tebow was on Denver. I said they instantly became a better running team, and they never turned the ball over. So now your defense, instead of playing on short fields and being 3 and outs, the game gets shortened, and the other team always has to go 80 yards because even if you punt
and you're fresh as a daisy,
you're fresh. It's a Tim Tebow effect. It's the idea of like keeping the ball on offense for sure.
And not much turnover. Their team's basically intact.
Yeah, you got your running back. I mentioned last week to Josh, I said, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is complaining about. You have a top 5 wide receiver. You have a top 10, probably have a top 10 tight end, and a decent second and third receiver also. You have a top 5 running back. You have a top 5, top 10, top 5 offensive line, and a top 10 defense. And one of the brightest young coaches in the sport. And you went to the NFC Championship back-to-back games. And really, if you're on this team, the rest of the league is fighting for second place. Nobody believes with a healthy Packers team that anybody else can really compete for this division. I don't know what else you want. I just think you're being selfish, but that's a conversation for another day because we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers again. I'll tell you one thing I thought about because Aaron Rodgers is kind of a prickly dude. I could see him sitting for a while, like sitting maybe the first few games.
Oh, really? Into the season.
And then coming back. Listen, he's been in this offense for 2 years. He knows the offense. Yeah. He's a smart dude anyway, so it's not like he needs the offseason. So sit out for a few weeks, maybe let them go 1-3, 1-4, something like that, 2-3, 0-5. I don't know. And then say, do you guys want to make some changes that I might be interested in? And then I can come back. Yeah. I'm in shape. Yeah. I'm ready to go.
Amazing,
so let's look at their schedule to start. At New Orleans, home against Detroit, at San Francisco, home against the Steelers, and at Cincinnati. Now, to me, with Aaron Rodgers, that's 4-1. A 4-1 start, right? At worst, 3-2, but I think 4-1. Without Aaron Rodgers,
it could be 1-4, 2-3. Like
it could be 0-5. I mean, I really don't know what Jordan Love is right now, so it's tough. And I could absolutely see 1-4. 2-3 at best. I think 2-3 at best. Agreed. And that's why I say, listen, what if he looks at that schedule and says, well, if I sit out to start the season and they go 1-4. And here's why I even say that even more. What we know now is that the fans in Green Bay are against Aaron Rodgers in June.
Yes.
In October, if you're 1-4,
guess who's back?
I think that changes very quickly. I think talk radio, Milwaukee talk radio, Green Bay talk radio changes very quickly, and suddenly they're going to be clamoring.
Timing is everything.
For the Jeopardy guy to come back.
Just like we're talking about with Dan Campbell. Yeah, June, who cares? October is a different ball game, my friend.
It absolutely is, right? You got a Super Bowl roster and you're 1-4. I think suddenly the fans would say. So this might be one of those times, dude, where we say, oh, we're just a couple of idiots who don't know what we're talking about. But come next October, we're going to replay this segment and say, no one else talked about this. Not the idiot Mike Florio, not Colin Cowherd.
Not Nick Wright.
Certainly not Nick Wright. He never says Nitwit Wright. He never says anything of any kind of value.
Nick wrong.
Yeah. We talked about this. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying don't be surprised if it happens. Don't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers sits for a while. But if he comes back, it'll count as having played a year, and he'll get paid. He won't get paid for a whole season, but he'll get paid.
Right.
So it's actually part of an exit plan as well, because he'll have put the maximum pressure on Green Bay, but yet he'll have fulfilled most of his contractual, expectations. So I just thought about that today. Don't call me crazy. Don't call me conspiracy theorist. This is not JFK. This is not the grassy knoll. It's not any of that. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. Okay.
Do you want to give your division and picks here?
Listen, if Aaron Rodgers plays, it's Green Bay, and 11 to me. If he plays, I'm going over 11. If he doesn't, dude, I have no friggin' clue. So to me, Green Bay wins the division. Because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to. I'm not betting on him sitting out. I'm just saying don't be surprised if he does. I think he's going to play. So I think
I got them at first as well at 10-7.
I just a 7 loss. That's just a lot.
I just think don't. Well, like you said, if he sits out, who knows what's going to happen?
Too much contention.
And I think this division's better a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's so I don't know. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It was a Tuesday.
I think I would put Minnesota second. I think they're a better team than they played last year. I have to believe that they're going to make improvements. Over and under is 8.5. I'm going to go over, and I say they win 9 or 10 games.
Right with their way, I got them in second place at 9-8 myself.
There you go. Third place, I'll go with the Chicago Bears. Again, I made the argument before that Andy Dalton's better than Mitch Trubisky, so I think they should win 8 games, but that could be 8 and 9, and I don't think that's enough to win to make the playoffs. Justin Fields is so interesting. If he comes in and plays, dude, he's such an elite athlete that I think his running could spark some wins, or I just don't know. I just don't know that he's ready to be an elite passer in the NFL, and you're going to be thrown into a lot tighter windows than he's ever thrown at Ohio State. I just don't think he's ready to do that. So I don't think he makes much of a difference, although his legs can make some difference. Okay, but I still think 8 wins.
I got him in 3rd place as well, and I got him tied. I got 9 and 8 for them too, but I got them losing a tiebreaker to the Vikings.
Okay, and then I got the Detroit Lions in last place. The over and under is 5. I'm going to take the under. I think they win 3 games. I think at best they win 3 games. Maybe they win less. I think at best it's 3 games.
I got him obviously last 2, but I got him a little bit more. I got him 6 and 11. I think Goff's good enough to win a couple, and I think the new coaching staff might spark him a little bit at some point. So
I think getting off to an 0-5 start is rough.
I'm a little bit more positive there, but I listen. If they're 3 and 14, I'm not going to be shocked either. So.
Yeah, I just look and I say I don't think they're going to win any games in a division. So you're 0-6 right there. And who are you beating? I'd have to look at the rest of their schedule. I didn't really take a look at the full schedule. I only like to look at the beginning because I just look at when those first 5-6 games matter so much psychologically. Like you're 1-4. It's just hard to come back from that. And then just statistically, you're not making the playoffs if you start 1-4. And just if you're a bad team and you start 0-5, it just confirms that you're a bad team. Like if you came into the season as a bad team, but you're hopeful, like, well, I don't care what they say. We're going to play hard, or we're going to bite knees and do all that kind of stuff. We're going to wear helmets during press conferences. But then you go 0-5, and it's like, oh, shit, we are who everybody said. And it's like, you lay down. Yeah, a bad team will lay down quick when they start 0-5. Just look at the Jets in Jacksonville last year. So that's what I'm thinking.
Episode 19, brother.
19. Let me see what I got here. Hold on. I'm going to go to my notes. Obviously, Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas.
Saying, top of the list, yes, Johnny Unitas. Now, let me tell you my interesting Johnny Unitas story. Before my son was born, my wife was pregnant, and we were watching an ESPN special about the greatest game ever played, which they were saying was the Giants versus the Colts in the NFL championship game. Before they had Super Bowls, the NFL championship game.
At Yankee Stadium, right?
Yes. And they had trouble selling tickets the day of the game. Like you were able to buy tickets the day of the game. They couldn't sell the place out, which is fascinating. Wow. But, they kept talking about Johnny Unitas. So they're saying Unitas. I kept saying Unitas. And my wife, Melissa, just goes like she was in and out. And she goes, ooh, Unitas. I like that name. Maybe we'll name our son Unitas. And I'm like, well, he's Colasano. And she's like, no, first name. I'm like, that would be a pretty cool first name, Unitas Colasano. That's very like cool. The 300, like Greek god Unitas Colasano. Okay. So my son's name, while Peter Richard now, and Tom Valentino was just saying, well, Pick 'em Pete make any appearances with his picks this season. I would count on Pick 'em Pete being with us once football comes around. Pick 'em Pete was almost Pick 'em Unitas. How about that? That would have been something, right?
That's great. That's a great
almost.
Oh, that's cool. So I got Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn was on my list. Absolutely, maybe one of the best not maybe one of the best hitters in the history of the sport. Jesus. Absolutely, in the history of baseball.
I got Willis Reed.
Okay,
from my buddy Tommy Balvin, I got Stevie Yzerman, one of the best hockey players ever at 19. Okay.
How about Keyshawn? You don't mention Keyshawn?
Give me the damn ball, Johnson.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Come on,
I'm good
without Zubin. Yeah.
And I got one for you being a big college guy that I always liked this guy growing up watching. Bernie Kosar.
Bernie. Yeah, that's a nice one. Guy we mentioned last week when we were talking old Yankees rivalries with Seattle, Jay Buhner.
Jay Buhner.
Was number 19.
Yeah.
And someone from back in the day who I never saw play, but I have an autographed baseball of his, number 19, Bob Feller.
Bob Feller.
Okay, so my father-in-law was kind enough to give me a Bob Feller autographed baseball.
Fantastic.
But I will stick with Unitas. Unitas is our 19.
I got it.
All right.
Yes, sir.
For Pete Colasano, or I'm Pete Colasano. I'm not speaking for Pete Colasano unless I'm talking about myself in the third person. For Pete Colasano and for Scott. I'm Pete Cosano for Scott Bracey. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.